Warlords. We are back again with another Token Terrors Battle Block solo minigame, and this time we will be looking at combat protocols using the flying machines designed by Alexiev. I'm not sure if I'm saying his last name correctly. I think that I am. Ivan was actually one of the first designers to start digging in on making a solo game for us, and he runs a podcast as well as a board game rule editing consortium called Player Layer. They do really good work. His rule booklet actually for combat protocols has some aesthetic stuff that they did that is really, really cool. A lot of them, including mine, is like just a Google Doc, but they actually did some header art and grabbed a couple illustrations of the flying machines and popped them in there. They did a really nice job. So let's dig into combat protocols. This one is solidly a puzzler. The thematic story behind this one is that you are a programmed flying machine that is using a control panel to basically take freshly minted flying machines that have just been spit out of the factory through a number of aerial battle formations and attack plans. So you're helping them with their programming and their combat protocols. And the way that you succeed in this game is by moving a flying machine from its numbered starting point on each side of the sky card here, from one side to the other, using some movement and action programming. And this is made a little bit more challenging by a couple really cool mechanics that Ivan has included. So you have the ability to augment and change these tiny little tiles, which in Final, these are actually going to change. And I believe you start, each of these like this with no hazards on the other side, and this will be your programmer. And then there is the battery token, which starts at full, and that one's actually going to get larger. All of these little chits are actually going to get a little bit bigger because they're quite small. And then you have your engine heat token, which this mechanic for movement kind of blew my mind. I think it's one of the most creative and cool things that I've seen. I just really was kind of blown away when Ivan showed it to me. I just thought it was so smart. So then you have these little arrow tokens that go onto each of the spaces, and some of them can be flipped over to create hazards, like walls that actually land on the middle, on the break line between two of these spaces, but we're going to have them all with arrows for now. And, with some of these, like, I think it actually only starts with 3 arrows, and you place them in these, and you can move the arrows from space to space. So you can only ever move a flying machine onto a space that already has an arrow, and the way the arrow is facing is kind of random at the beginning of the game, and you're going to use this programming to change the direction of the arrows or move the arrows to another adjacent space. Now, we're only using 3 flying machines in this initial setup, but this game offers 6 different challenge levels where you add more flying machines and you start to incorporate these shock. They're really small and hard to see, I understand, but there's a little insignia on the other side that has a floating orb that's surrounded by lightning, and when you run into it, it actually drains your battery. And then the other one is a wall that makes it so you can't travel into the next square up. So every time you move your programmer onto one of these different squares, you can complete the action, but then when you move off of it, you flip it over, and it'll sometimes feature a hazard. So every time you move your programmer onto one of these tiles, you can complete the action. Every time you move one of your flying machines into a space, you're going to move the engine temperature gauge over. If you ever would move this gauge into the red, you overheat and explode, game over. You cannot have freshly made flying machines exploding during combat drills. So the way that you change that is by landing on one of these it's a cooldown space, I guess is what we'll call it, where you actually flip this over and then you're granted movement going in the opposite direction. So you're only ever hovering between these 6 spaces back and forth, but you can move as many times as you want. I think it's awesome. So we'll get through a couple movements here. And again, the idea here is to just have this flying machine here, just get over to this side. Doesn't seem like it would be that hard, but this is actually a really crunchy puzzler that I've had very low amounts of success with. I don't know if my brain is really just not programmed for it, but Ivan says that he actually has never beat, like, I think there's 6 levels in total, and Ivan the designer has never completed all 6 of the different levels. So let's get started here. So I can see this one here is kind of facing the wrong way, and I don't need any more power. Oh, that's the other thing. This is a charging station, so anytime a flying machine lands here, you gain a little bit more battery life. So if your battery runs out all the way to the end, game over. If you overheat, game over. So you just want to move all the guys. So I think step number 1 is I'm going to place my programmer onto the 90 degrees space and turn this arrow 90 degrees this way. Then I'll use a movement to go here, and I'll start to heat up. Then I'll move my programmer off of this square, which flips this, and now it's cool. And then I'll move it over here so that I can change the position of one of the arrows. So I'll actually move this one down, and I will then use a movement action to move down 1 space, which caused me to overheat. But now I flip the heat gauge over, and I now have a full 4 additional movements to keep moving. So I'll move a heat 1 more, and boom! I have one of my flying machines has now cleared his combat protocols training for the day. I will then move this guy. Oh, that's right. So the programmer can only move orthogonally. I can't make diagonal movements. So at least I think that's right. Pretty sure. I'll go ahead and move this one down here and have this move 180 degrees around, and then this flips over, and I will move over here and turn this 90 degrees and use a movement. Oh, that's no bueno. And then another movement here. Then I'll move this programmer onto this space to move one of the I guess it's like a Wi-Fi signal. It's an electric, like I'm sending them like a radio signal telling them which way to go. So then this guy will move on to here, which boom jam moves my piece back around. So now I have a bunch of more movement, and I'll move back, and this guy's cleared. And so I don't want to go 180. I actually want to get this one back to being able to move one of the program tokens over. So I'll move this here, and I take a battery drain, but then I'll move this back to 90 degrees, and this will go 90 degrees to the right, and this goes back to, oh, that's a 90 degree token, shit. So I'll move this off. There we go, that's what I need, and this will go 180, which doesn't matter, I don't think. I'll move this guy back over to move this program token to this side. Then I'll go move and move. Success! So that's level 1. I'm pretty sure I explained everything properly, but again, if you're interested in playing this one and want to make sure that I didn't gunk this up, you can check all the rule booklets on tokenterrors.com. Ivan, if you're watching this, sorry if I messed anything up. Feel free to post corrections in the comment section. But this has been Combat Protocols, and again, both sides of this card are identical. The way that you get 6 levels out of it is by creating obstacles and hazards, and also increasing the number of flying machines in the exercise. So at its top challenge, I believe the board looks something like this, where you have the numbered spaces on the card are where each of the flying machines begin. You'll have 3 program tiles that'll go onto these 3 squares, and then the other 3, I think at easier levels, you'll have more than 3 of the program tiles on the board, but this one will create a hazard that is an electric shock that'll drain your battery. You would probably place another one here, and then one of them is a wall that can make it so that you just can't move through certain portions of the card. So lots of replayability on this one. Really cool movement mechanic with the overheat gauge. That's Combat Protocols. Hope you guys enjoy it.